If we rewind to December 2014 and you looked at the commentators back then, there was a degree of anxiety as we were going into December of 2014. The devaluation was coming, there were interest rate hikes, and it didn't look as though it was under control. It turns out that this decision that was taken by the central bank to decouple the ruble, to basically allow the ruble to float, has actually proven, as we see it now, to have been a very wise move, and one that's actually allowed Russia to go through this period with a degree of ease which would not have been there had they tried to hold on to the exchange rate. And that I set up Citibank here 20 years ago, so I've watched the last 20 years of the development of the Russian banking system, and the first thing you'd have to say is, my goodness, it has developed very strongly. I think if you just look at what's happened inside the big state banks, they have shown very significant improvement, not only in terms of their product range, but also in terms of their whole training programs and their customer-focused perspective. The Western banks are still here, some have left, but I would make the point that there are plenty of the Western banks still very operative in the Russian environment. And these environments are sometimes good because, you know, less banks means less competition, means more space for those that remain. The private sector banks are under stress because of the capital issues, but again, I think that the Russian banking system does not face systemic issues in the way that some commentators thought that it would. The game is changing, and when you sit and listen to bankers talking about how much money they need to charge their clients to have credit balances, I realize it's a different world. And I think this issue of how the banks leapfrog in technology terms, how they stay extremely flexible, this fintech issue, I think it's an interesting concept of both the actuality of the technology developments, but also the corporate culture of the banks. How do they stay mobile? How do they stay able to respond? That, I think, is probably going to be one of the major challenges as we look forward.